As the history of world cinema shows, not all child actors successfully handle the sudden world fame, paychecks, and attention that comes their way. Unfortunately, without proper support, early success is often followed by depression, drugs, criminal behavior, and career struggles. Growing stars often get into trouble and commit illegal acts, but promising 21-year-old Ryan Grantham took it further than anyone else. Grantham is a Canadian actor who appeared in 37 films and TV shows, including Netflix's Riverdale and Supernatural. He started his career at an early age and had achieved some fame by age 21, but his name made headlines worldwide not because of his acting talent. On March 31, 2020, Ryan Grantham filmed the most important 4-minute movie of his life. It was his confession to killing his own mother. This crime shocked his family, his mother's friends and acquaintances, his co-stars, and even the judge who called this case tragic and life-destroying. It all started in Squamish, a small scenic town in Canada's British Columbia province, halfway between Vancouver and Whistler. On October 22, 1955, Barbara, or Barbie Ann Wade, was born in Squamish, the woman destined to die at the hands of her own flesh and blood. All her life, Barbara was drawn to nature. She loved outdoor activities, especially skiing, cycling, and hiking. Monica Humphries, Barbara's sister, remembered how they once played tennis, and the match ended with a visit to the emergency room. Barbie accidentally hit herself in the forehead with a racket and cut it open. Monica held a towel to her sister's head while she drove her Toyota Corona to the hospital, and Barbara kept laughing about how stupid it was. 4 stitches and she still found it funny. Barbie saw the positive in everything and could laugh even at her own weaknesses. Despite her small stature, Barbara was strong and brave, fighting difficulties with an unwavering positive attitude. She loved animals and pets adored her, never leaving her side. Barbara often walked around Squamish with her friends and her peach-colored miniature poodle Skylar. She loved cooking, but most of all, Barbara loved her family, her sister, mother, and her 2 children, Ryan and Lisa. Ryan was born on June 20, 1998 in the same Squamish. His father left the family when Ryan was very young, and he lived with his mother and sister. They supported Ryan's acting aspirations. His mother enrolled him in a school with an acting program. At 9 years old, the boy with brown hair and piercing blue eyes made his TV debut in the Nutcracker Prince series, playing Billy. Viewers highly praised his acting abilities. He played a small role in the popular US and Canadian film Diary of a Wimpy Kid. This was followed by leading roles in Becoming Redwood, The Amazing Touch, and others. Ryan appeared in TV shows, commercials, and modeled for famous children's brands. He also appeared twice in Supernatural, though as 2 different characters. First, young Ryan played Todd in Season 8, a little kid who was bullied at school. In the pilot episode of Season 11, Ryan Grantham appeared again, but this time as a young hunter. Grantham can be seen in the series iZombie, but his biggest fame came from a small but rather important plot role in Netflix's Riverdale. He played Jeffrey Augustine, the man who killed Fred Andrews, the main character's father. In Riverdale Season 4, Ryan Grantham's character hits Fred while driving a truck and then confesses to the main character. Interestingly, the original script didn't include a murder, and Ryan's character was specifically added. This was the writer's way of gracefully writing off Luke Perry, an actor who unexpectedly died of a stroke in March 2019. Thanks to Netflix series' wide audience, Ryan became known worldwide. Interestingly, the actor was never a fan of social media, with no accounts on any platform. It seems he didn't want details of his career or personal life discussed on social media. He appeared on screen with actresses and models, but never gave reason for gossip about his relationships with girls. His career was on the rise, and it seemed the young man was headed for success and a happy life. But in 2020, he began having psychological problems. Acting work is inconsistent, and during periods when Grantham wasn't filming, he fell into depression. His main activity became drinking alcohol and smoking weed. Then the family was hit with another blow. Barbara was diagnosed with cancer. In the months leading up to the murder, Grantham's life was spiraling out of control. As his sister later said, he was falling in a spiral. Ryan was a student at Simon Fraser University. but he started systematically skipping classes. He smoked weed and began spending lots of time online. In the dark web, he spent hours watching videos full of violence and brutality. He began having thoughts of suicide and then of murder. Ryan was a member of a shooting club and knew how to handle weapons. A few months before the murder, he bought a new .22 caliber rifle. Ryan was no longer trying to fight his attraction to violence. Grantham's abandonment of his studies didn't go without consequences. He was expelled. This really upset Barbara. Now, the actor spent all his time at home with his mother. His sister was already living separately. Grantham's feelings of hopelessness, self-hatred, and desire to commit violence grew. He smoked a lot of marijuana, got angry, worried about his failures, and thought about both suicide and murder. All this combined with hours of watching bloody scenes couldn't end well. On March 5, 2020, Ryan drove to Simon Fraser University. As always, many students were walking around campus. They hadn't been expelled. Their lives were continuing. Students were joking, smiling, chatting. They had no idea Ryan had a gun in his car. But nothing happened that time. Ryan just drove away. This rehearsal was the first, but not the last. Besides nature and cooking, Barbara Waite's passion was playing the piano. Several times when she was playing passionately, Ryan would sneak up behind her, pulling his rifle at the back of her head, and imagine shooting. Once he even filmed this rehearsal on his GoPro, but he didn't pull the trigger. Not that time. On March 31st, 2020, Ryan sat outside on the steps of their house with his rifle. He unloaded the rifle. He thought about what to do. He loaded it again. Ryan loaded and unloaded the weapon and thought for about 15 minutes. Then came the familiar sounds. His mother sat down at the piano. It was now or never. Ryan entered the house and quietly snuck up on his mother, as he had done several times before. But this time he fired a single shot from the .22 caliber rifle into her head at close range. She died instantly. Barbara was 64 years old. Ryan didn't call emergency services or police. He just stayed home with his mother's body, which lay where it fell after the shot. Ryan went into psychosis. Blood was pooling under the body while he wrote in his journal, "I'm so sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry, Lisa. I hate myself. There's a lot about me in the media, movies and television, hundreds of hours of me that can be viewed and analyzed. No one will understand." Then Ryan took his GoPro camera and filmed a 4-minute video. It was later shown in court. In it, Grantham shows his mother's body saying, "I shot her in the back of the head. Another moment and she would have known it was me." Ryan left the house to withdraw money from the ATM, buy weed and beer. Then he returned and started practicing making homemade Molotov cocktails. Before bed, Grantham watched Netflix for over 2 hours, drank beer and smoked marijuana. Then he covered his mother's body with a sheet and went to sleep. The next day, April 1st, Ryan, in some kind of religious impulse and remorse, placed lit candles around his mother's body and put a rosary on the piano. The same day, Lisa, Barbara's daughter, became worried. Mom wasn't answering phone calls and messages. She came to her house and discovered the body. Ryan wasn't home. He was already on his way to Ottawa, and he had big plans. In their family car were 3 guns, ammunition, 12 Molotov cocktails, camping supplies, and a map showing directions to the cottage, the residence of Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. It seems incredible that after killing his mother, Ryan chose the Prime Minister of Canada as his new murder target. But Grantham later mentioned his intention to kill Trudeau in his police statement. He also wrote about it in his personal diary. Ryan wanted to do something extremely violent. He was the only one who came to mind, the most significant person in Canada, he said later. Along the way, he stopped several times, throwing Molotov cocktails in empty lots to practice. But fortunately for Trudeau, Ryan changed his mind for some reason. Maybe because this is Canada, baby, with its distances. From Squamish to Ottawa is almost 50 hours of continuous driving. After a few hours, Ryan reached the town Hope, still in British Columbia, and turned back. Ryan changed his plans. Now he was thinking about, instead of one prime minister, carrying out a mass shooting at Simon Fraser University, where he had been expelled, which had disappointed his mother, made him a failure. Or maybe carry out a mass shooting on the Lions Gate Bridge in Vancouver. Well, Any busy and crowded place would do. Ryan reached Vancouver at night. He stopped the car. "I took a beautiful life from the world and now I must give my life to the world." According to him, his thought made him put the gun to his head several times to commit suicide, but he couldn't pull the trigger. Instead, Ryan drove to the police headquarters in the east part of the city. He approached an officer sitting in a police car and said, "I killed my mother." Grantham decided to turn himself in. The judge later called it a saving grace that Grantham decided not to carry out mass murders. Ryan Grantham's trial took place in 2022 at the British Columbia Supreme Court, and since Canadian law prohibits video or photo recording of court proceedings unless otherwise ruled by authorities, only a court artist was present at the hearing. The 24-year-old actor pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and read his statement in a clear but shaken voice. "I can't explain or justify my actions. I have no excuse. It hurts me to think about how I wasted my life so pointlessly. In the face of something so horrible, apologizing seems so pointless, but with every fiber of my being, I'm sorry. I'm sorry." How can one not remember the scene from Riverdale where his character is also sorry for what he did? Ryan Grantham said his mother was a caring and compassionate person who did nothing to deserve what he did to her. Citing 2 psychiatric evaluations, the prosecutor stated that Grantham had been going through a period of clinical depression for several months before the murder while maintaining the outward appearance of someone living a normal life. It was bold of her to define the lifestyle of a guy spending all his free time watching violent videos under the influence of marijuana and cuddling with a rifle as normal. But he wasn't crazy. The reports from 2 psychiatrists stated that the defendant had a substance use disorder, particularly cannabis and critical mood swings. No signs of mental disorders. Psychiatric evaluations presented to the court also showed that after killing his mother, the actor was torn between wanting to commit suicide due to guilt and wanting to commit even more horrific murders. The defense argued that Grantham decided to kill his mother to spare her from the violence he intended to commit afterward. He decided to kill her before he killed himself or other people, said attorney Chris Johnson. This murder wasn't committed out of hatred or hostility. It was committed because of Mr. Grantham's disturbed mind and to prevent his mother from seeing what he thought he was going to do. Well, an altruistic motive, but was this a mercy killing? Ryan cared about his mother's opinion. Barbara was certainly already upset by the fact that Ryan had stopped attending university classes. On one hand, he could no longer fight his desire to kill, but on the other, he didn't want to feel shame for it. His mother, he thought, would be disappointed by the act he so desperately wanted to commit. And Ryan didn't want to take responsibility for his actions and be an object of disappointment. His mother was a kind of obstacle in the way of fulfilling his desires, the voice of conscience. Killing her freed his hands, but not for long. On the way to Ottawa, his conscience and shame returned. Killing his mother didn't give him complete freedom as he had expected. The conclusion suggests that Ryan Grantham, accustomed to attention and popularity since childhood, is an egoist but vulnerable, hypersensitive egoist dependent on others' opinions. But why? Instead of seeking psychological help and trying to solve his problems, did this promising young man decide to hurt other people to get relief through acts of violence and cruelty? Perhaps specialists in psychology will figure this out. In his court statement, Grantham said that during the last 25 months of incarceration, he had been attending counseling to try to address his emotional and psychological issues. "Someday, if I'm ever released from prison, I hope to continue this path of self-improvement," he said. The sentence was handed down on September 21, 2022. Second-degree murder in Canada carries an automatic life sentence, and the defense secured the right to parole after 14 years. Grantham was also given a lifetime ban on possessing weapons. The lawyer said that Ryan would have accepted 25 years without the possibility of parole, but he is grateful that he'll have the chance to apply for parole after 14 years. Probably, Ryan will enjoy psychotherapy sessions in prison only until he is 35. Of course, he doesn't look like a typical criminal, and that's a big advantage. Most likely after 14 years, Grantham will seem harmless, friendly, and remorseful, making him a good candidate for parole. According to the same lawyer, Ryan wants to do something good in this world, even if it just means improving his mental health. After everything, he plans to move forward. Having spent more than 2 years in jail before trial, Ryan wrote a lot, read, and apparently really tried to change the dark period in his life to a more positive one. Hopefully, this suicidal mood has passed too. But besides internal psychological problems, Ryan faces other issues. After the sentencing, Ryan's lawyer talked about his client's fears. Grantham confessed to him that he is terrified because he's sure that when he goes to prison, he'll definitely become a target for abuse. Considering he weighs only about 45 kilograms and is 157 centimeters tall, sweet childlike face and fragile build were advantages in his acting career, but in prison, 24-year-old Ryan, who looks 17, might face physical, psychological, and sexual abuse from intimidating inmates. Johnson appealed to correctional authorities, hoping they would be lenient in choosing the prison where Grantham will serve his life sentence and place him in a medium security facility. We send people to prison both to punish and to rehabilitate, and I hope the latter happens. We don't put people in prison for other inmates to punish them, the lawyer said. He asked the court to consider the convicted criminals built so that the administration of the correctional facility where Grantham ends up would prevent violence and cruelty against his client. The judge agreed with the concerns, but the prison where Grantham is serving his sentence was determined by the Correctional Service of Canada, and his location is not disclosed. Ryan Grantham's Riverdale co-stars distanced themselves from him. Lily Reinhardt, one of the series actresses, wrote on Twitter, "We don't know him. Thanks." On social media, the cast also shares thoughts about the tragic and almost mystical coincidence. In the series, Ryan plays a young man who killed the main character's father, and in life kills his own mother. Both funny and a bit scary knowing what happened. Now seems the scene with Ryan from Supernatural. What will happen with Ryan Grantham's life next, time will tell. Ryan's sister, Lisa Grantham, stated that her brother is a dangerous person and that she fears his release from prison. "How can I trust anyone when my only brother decided to execute my mom when she turned her back?" she told the court in tears. "It breaks my heart. She fought so hard against cancer, only to be killed by her own son. She was vulnerable, and Ryan didn't give her a chance to defend herself. It hurts me to realize that he posed a danger to her life." Young detectives, write, what do you think about this case? Does Ryan Grantham truly regret killing his mother, as he said in his court statement? Or was it just acting, like in the confession scene from the series? Take care of yourselves and your loved ones.